All right, everyone. Today's a very special episode because I am talking with my sister, Laura, aka Mommoiselle, on the podcast. So welcome, Laura.
Hi, glad to be here.
We're going to have to figure out our rhythm for a second because first of all, we never really speak English to each other. We speak Dutch when it's just the two of us. And also, obviously, when we chat, it's mostly complaining about our parents, and now we're not allowed to do that. I'm kidding.
Yeah, obviously we're kidding.
If you're listening, Mom, turn it off. We're going to uncover all our deepest trauma right now.
Let's make some room.
But no, I really wanted to invite you on here today because if you know Laura, she is a mom, has 3 kids. She's a teacher. If you don't know her, if you don't follow her online, first of all, go and do that really quickly. It's very fun to watch. The kids are the cutest. And, you know, it's all about the life of a mom, basically. Yeah. Realistic momhood. But even though it's realistic, quote unquote, on the gram, on a podcast, we have more time and we can get really, uncover the layers and chat about how hard it can be to be a mom and how fun it can be and how overwhelming it can be and how you try to balance it all, even though there's no balance really, but how you try to balance it all and, support your own mental and physical health. And it's a journey, it's a struggle, it's, all the good things at the same time. But what do I know? I'm not a mom, so that's
like you know a lot.
I listen to a lot of my friends and sisters who have babies. So, but for me, it's really easy to try to give tips and say, and listen and give advice. But it's so different when you actually have kids at home. So that's why I thought, let me bring my sister on. Yeah, she knows. But first of all, why don't you introduce yourself?
So, do I look at the camera?
No, just look at me. We ignore the camera.
So, I'm Laura. I'm the eldest of 4. I am married to Bart. I'm 30. I'm thinking, am I 37? Or am I 38?
This is me counting in the background on my fingers. You're...
I'm from 86.
1880s? I mean 19.
Yeah. Elliot would be like, is that when the dinos were alive? He's getting interested in history, but he has no time for it.
It's so cute with kids. I was surprised because we were just at a family party and I asked them do you know, because they were saying how old everyone was, their parents. And it's do you know how old I am? And Elliot knew. And I was surprised because sometimes when you ask kids that age, they're 56 or 18 and they don't understand how.
No, exactly. We have, I'm married to Bart. We have 3 children. Elliot is 8. Amelia is 6 and Phoebe is 4. And I'm a teacher.
What do you teach?
I teach English, so...
This is your exam.
This is my exam. I'm an English teacher in the final year of secondary school, so senior year, and I also teach Dutch.
And I mean, it's safe to say that you are the cool teacher.
Well,
or not.
That's a whole other podcast because I think teaching is also a journey. In the beginning, I think I really did want to be liked, and that is a little bit of a downfall trait of mine, that I really want people to like me all the time. Yeah. And so in teaching, that's a little difficult sometimes.
It's probably the same in parenthood.
Yeah. We're hitting that stage now.
My kids don't like me all the time.
No, I think I also evolved in teaching. Okay. I'm still, I hope, a very caring and nice teacher, and I do try to make my lessons fun, and I always try to think that I don't want them to study things by heart or learn everything about one subject there is to learn with me, but I try to plant seeds. So I just kind of introduce them to something, and then I hope that someone in class will be like, oh, I actually kind of like that. Maybe, I'll come back to that. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm doing now, my approach. But I'm not very strict. I try to be consequent.
As a teacher and as a parent?
And as a parent, I am not strict at all either.
I mean, let's be honest. I think strictness is overrated.
Yeah, it's so 1999.
No, but our parents were not strict at all. And we were we were the best kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I had friends who would sneak out. Their parents did not know where they were. They would be like, I'm sleeping over at this friend's house, and they were not there. And if something happened, they would have been lost. And we were just like,
agree.
We told our parents everything, or close to everything.
And this is something that Bart and I sometimes kind of struggle with. He also is a very caring parent. And I mean, I think we both don't want too many rules suffocating the kids, our families. So in that sense, we really, are the same. But in certain situations with the children getting a little bit older and you have to parent more, that's where sometimes we've kind of clashed. And then I go, I don't think this is a deal breaker, or I don't think we should make this into something at all. Just let them be. Yeah. This is also learning, and then for him, it's sometimes frustrating because he has the feeling that he has to play the bad cop. Because sometimes, and that's true, I have to admit, sometimes I just don't have I just can't get the kids to do what I want, And then he's like, well, this is what happens if you never set any boundaries. Yeah. But in general, they're really nice and kind, and they really do what we hope that they do, what we expect of them. But sometimes when things get out of hand, I'm not the person who can reel them back in, and then Bart's like, now I have to do that. Yeah, that's not fun.
Well, I guess it's like, I always say this within like not parenting, but with life for yourself. Like, you want to have a structure, and then within that you have freedom. Like, it's always freedom within the structure. And I guess with kids it's the same. They need a structure, they need the guidelines, but you also want to let them be able to be free enough to be themselves and realize what works, what doesn't work, make their own mistakes.
Yeah. And I think every family has those rules for themselves, that like structure, that things that they find essential and important. And we have some of those as well. And I'm sure that other people would be like, oh, that's not a thing at our house at all. For example, for us, we have a rule: when you come down and it's a school day, you come down dressed. So the evenings before, we all pick out something to wear. I mean, they can choose what they wear. I have no
and their styles are really great. Like, come on, they're so stylish.
Sometimes they go out and we're like, but I just let them do that. And Mom always jokes that that's because she traumatized me, which is true.
What did she make you wear? Let's see if I can find some photos and I'll insert them.
I walked around like Laura Ingalls until I was 14.
Yeah, but I mean, I love Laura Ingalls. Yeah, for those who don't know, Little House on the Prairie, shout out.
Yeah. I was actually named after her, so
Were you?
Yeah.
Wait, how did I not? Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Mom used to watch the show, and then she always was like, I like the name Laura.
So. Also, I've never told anyone, but you know this, but I was obsessed with those books. I reread them.
But she's also very like, how do you say that? You're the opposite of a hoarder. Like, you don't want to keep anything. So now I'm keeping the whole book series for Alice because I'm like, this was part of your childhood. You can't just throw these out.
It's so funny. I'm not a hoarder. It's because I don't really care about materialistic things, I guess. But I do have luck that I have what is that? It's the coffee machine. This is our third character in the podcast.
The coffee machine.
It's us two and the coffee. Anyways, those books are really great if you like reading kids' books.
Well, and they're not really kids' books either. Yeah. You're a really good reader. I mean, they are kids' books, but you were reading them at a young age, I think.
I used to love I still love reading, but I used to love reading when I was little. But we're going off track.
So yes, I was dressed as a Little House on the Prairie character until I was 14. And then I was like the only one in middle school, like, jeans? I've never worn jeans.
It's a new invention, and women can wear them too.
Yeah, exactly. So that's, I think, we all do that. You become a parent and you have some things that you think, this is something that my parents did really good and I'm going to implement that as well. And then you have other things that you think, that's something I'm going to do differently. Yeah. And for me, that's one of the things I thought I'm going to do differently, because I had a lot of arguments with my mom about shoes and clothes. And I look back on that and I think, why?
Yeah.
You know,
it's not really important.
No.
And also it kind of is such a nice way to to build and get to know your identity and
definitely.
your creativity as a kid.
Definitely. I have to say, when I was older, I was just allowed to wear what I wanted. And, you know, sometimes I look back at the pictures and I think, maybe that's when my mom should have stepped in. But
it was a wild time, the 90s and the nullies.
Yes.
It's all coming back, Y2K. But let's go back to the beginning. Not the beginning, but 8 years ago. When you were 27, 28?
No, I was 29.
29. Okay. I was like, you were a teenage mom.
Yeah, as a teenage mom. No, I was, we got married when I was 27, and I gave birth to Elliot when I was 29.
Yes. So a lot of people that are listening are kind of around that age, like end 20s, beginning 30s, mid 30s, either are thinking of having kids. Maybe you already have one baby at home. I don't know. But a lot of them are like, okay, this is going to change my life. Yeah. So it's a big decision. Can you talk? Because a lot of my friends, and I know people that follow you, are like, wow, it just looks like everything you do comes so easily. You seem like being a mom, comes so naturally to you. Mm-hmm. And a big part of it probably is, yes, it does come naturally. But on the other hand, it's really hard work, and you have your hard times too as well. So
of course,
can you tell us about like the first time being a mom? What did it feel like? What happened?
I always wanted to be a mom.
Yeah.
So I'm that kind of girl. Like, I always wanted to have kids. And
some people just know, right? Some people just knew.
I just knew. And from the moment that Bart and I met, I was like, I want to have babies with him.
It's so funny. Like, I've never thought that about anyone. Yeah. What does that feel like?
Really exciting, because I thought it was going to go much quicker too. But then he was like, no. He also wanted to have kids, but Bart wasn't someone who had always known that he wanted that. He was just like, yeah in the future, but now I'm not really feeling it yet. So eventually when I look back on it, I'm actually happy that we didn't get babies when I wanted to already at like 23, 24. Yeah. Because it does change your life. Yeah. And we had a lot of fun times together and traveling. And so I'm happy with that. But then when we got married and we decided to try for a family, it was difficult and it didn't work out immediately. And so then at that moment, I was kind of having a lot of regrets about not starting a family earlier, because I was like, oh, wow, you know, the timing.
It was taking a while.
It was taking a while, and you just you don't have any control over the timing. Yeah.
With some people, like some friends are like, oh, I stopped the pill because it might take a while, and they're like pregnant the first month. Yeah. And I'm like, so I tell all my friends like, you can stop, but know that it can happen immediately, but it can also take a year. So
exactly. Yeah. So, wacht, dan moet ik even, dan moet ik er gaan knippen.
Bart just walked in, the husband. We might cut this, we might leave it. Yeah. Hi Bart, how are you feeling today?
You want to talk about your feelings? He always wants to do this.
Bye.
Zet jij ineens weg?
Ja, ik heb die sigaar al.
Ja, eerst die sigaar. Oké. Nee, dat is goed, dan zet je goed op tijd. Maar om 12:30 heb je echt de afspraak, hè? Met de P-man.
Dat wist niet toch?
Ja, dat is aan het draaien, maar Ali kan knippen.
Ja.
Ga eventjes terugzitten.
Dat is echt met die warme lucht, echt waar, dat blaast je gewoon los naar je huis in. Echt waar.
Bye.
Succes.
Oh, man.
Oh god. Yeah. It always makes me think of Friends. When Monica's like, now I have to live with the boy.
Oh my god, it's so true. There was this reel the other day, I've been sending it to everyone, I probably sent it to you as well, but it's like, what was the word? I'm a regrettable or a sad heterosexual. I'm unfortunately attracted to men. And then she shows like, you see her looking at her boyfriend like, ew, like doing gross stuff again? Like, ugh. But then he like flexes his arm and she's like, ah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Anyways, where were we?
Yes, we were talking about
that it might take a while.
And how, for me, that was immediately kind of like a test in letting go a little bit. I never knew I was such a control freak, but for me, that was very difficult to just kind of step back and think, okay, it'll come and it'll come, or, hopefully, because at that point, you're still kind of like, it will, right?
Yeah, and it must be really annoying than what everyone says, because people are trying to help, but they're like, just relax, like stress isn't good for you.
Yeah, just don't think about it. And for us, we always tell people when they are thinking about having a baby, we're always just like, go for it. Just do it. Like, there's never a good time, or you're never going to be really, really prepared. Obviously, when you're in the middle of renovations, maybe you want to postpone. But in general, just go for it. And
if you know you want it.
If
you're like, babies, I'm not sure, then wait a little longer maybe. But if you're like, I want one,
just go for it, because it could take a little longer.
If you're old enough.
It's always nicer to you want caveat. It's always nicer to be surprised with the pregnancy, given those caveats that you were just saying, like you're old enough and all that, and it's consensual and whatever. It's always nicer as a couple to be surprised with a pregnancy than having to long for it. And for us, it was long, but I mean, eventually we tried for 9 months, and then we got pregnant with twins, but then we lost them very early on. So I mean, at the time, that was obviously
heart-wrecking,
but you relativize eventually, or no, I don't know.
You can give it a place, you can give it a spot.
Do you say that?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
You can put it in context.
Yes,
maybe.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, immediately we were also like, well,
how many weeks were you when that happened?
Well, the first time we went to the doctor, she said there's no heartbeat in both of them. So that was 9 weeks.
Okay.
9 weeks. But I had been very sick, very, very nauseous, morning to night, and it was a whole thing to then, how do you say that? To then
not be sick anymore?
No. To
get the babies out?
Yeah. How do you say that?
How do they do that?
Yeah, so I was given a pill by the doctor, and then I had to take the pill, and then that would kind of like get things going, and at that point it's just like a bleeding, and then but it didn't work. And we were on vacation. We decided after all of that to still go on vacation, on our planned vacation, and do it there. We were with family, so that was nice. And they knew, and they supported us, but it didn't work, and I was still sick. I couldn't eat anything, and it was that was just very disturbing, that you're like, your body thinks it's still pregnant, but you're not. And so then eventually we got back, and then I had to have a curettage.
Yeah.
I think they call it that in English as well, curettage. Anyways, and then the moment I left the hospital, I felt better.
Wow.
It was crazy. Yeah, crazy. But my hormones still thought I was pregnant. My boobs were still swollen. I was getting a little belly, or one event, I could see that.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was difficult. And then after that, it was also our OBGYN who said, you know what, I think maybe now you both so want it. I think we should check out, or we should dig in deeper. Because before you weren't thinking about it. It was just like, and it wasn't working. She's like, why don't you, first I had a few complications, so I had to wait for 3 months. But then after those 3 months, I went by her, and then she checked when my ovulation was. And turns out that I had a different ovulation than I had always thought that I had.
Interesting.
So when I wasn't thinking about it, trying not to think, you're always thinking about it. So sometimes I was like, but we had sex then. So, and then maybe wait a little. and we were always missing it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so physically, I don't think there was anything wrong eventually. And then we did get pregnant the first time just with those ovulation tests and also visiting her. And so eventually, after a year of trying for a baby, we could say that we were pregnant.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I totally get that people listening are sometimes like, a year, that's not very long.
Yeah.
But
in the moment,
it feels long, especially because all the people around us were having babies.
Yeah.
And, you know, like with all of your friends, you're doing all of those same things. Like first, all the conversations are about getting your driver's license. Then all of the conversations are about getting an apartment, meeting someone. And then all the conversations are about moving in together and then having babies. And then, and I so wanted it.
Yeah.
So just, I think it, like just in time, we got pregnant for me not to really, really get very sad about it. Yeah. And then we had Elliot.
Then you were pregnant with Elliot.
Yes.
And I was like, no, I'm kidding. I was going to say, because for me, when people tell me they're pregnant, I'm still like, on an accident? Like,
why?
Are you sure? No. And then I forget I'm 33, so that it's normal. Yeah. Anyways, okay, so then you had Elliot. The cutest baby ever.
Yeah.
This was what, 2017, right? 2015. Oh my God.
Amelia's 2017.
Yes.
No, 2015, and no, everything went well. We had a little bit of a difficult start.
Can you tell us about your pregnancy though? Because you had like...
Yeah, I had, so again, I was very, very nauseous.
This is something that happened in all 3 pregnancies, right?
All 4 eventually then,
yeah,
if you count
that's
the one.
True.
So yeah. I was really, really sick.
Yeah.
Every time. The first 4 months.
Yeah.
And it actually, every time it took a little bit longer for it to really go away, but I was very nauseous.
The nausea.
I'm still like traumatized by nausea.
I was just going to say, didn't mom just send us something in our group WhatsApp about that they're discovering why women get nauseous in the pregnancies?
Look, I'm not half the feminist that you are, but when it comes down to research about things like this, I'm always like, this is because there are not enough women in the field doing research. If men would be having this and they would puke out their guts for months on end,
they'd be like, what's going on?
Like, we need a solution right now. And now with us, they're like, yeah, we don't really know what's going on. It's something with hormones.
Yeah. Just sit it out. It'll pass.
You're having a baby, be happy. So, yeah, very sick. But then after that, I was fine and actually always really enjoyed being pregnant.
Yeah. So after the first trimester.
After that first trimester. And then I had, suddenly I had itchy hands and itchy feet at 37 weeks. And it had to do with my liver. It's called cholestasis. Obstetric cholestasis, because you can have cholestasis outside of pregnancy, but then that's something very serious.
Okay.
There's something wrong with your liver. I don't have that when I'm not pregnant, but when I am pregnant, one of the 2 hormones is progesterone or estrogen. I don't know.
Progesterone.
They I don't know, do something to my liver.
Yeah. And
it can be harmful for the baby, and they don't know like in which timing it becomes
an issue.
So when you reach 37 weeks, they always opt, or at that time at least, they always opt to induce. And so that was a little bit of a difficult start because
how many weeks are you normally 40, so 37 is 3 weeks early,
around 40. So 3 weeks early, and you saw that like Elliot was not ready to be born. He was like high and dry when I went to the OBGYN that day. He's like, nowhere near, like don't even count on those 40 weeks.
So
you're gonna go over time maybe and blah blah blah. And then, I told her about the itchy hands. I needed to have blood tests. And then she called me back in the evening. She's like, you have to get over here because it was not good. And you should just notice because he was very sleepy. He would always fall asleep while I was trying to breastfeed him. And that was an issue for my milk to come in because breastfeeding, it's kind of like charging your phone every time you like hook up your baby.
Yeah.
Your brain gets the message to make milk.
Yeah.
And so if your baby is not doing that enough,
yeah.
then it's difficult for those in those first few days, you really have to do a lot of that. So luckily I was given lots of good advice at the hospital.
Good.
But it was very difficult because I had to pump immediately, try to feed, pump again. And it was just like the whole time. And then having visitors, because you're in Belgium.
This was
until
pre-COVID,
Corona, yeah, people would think it was etiquette, that it was polite to visit in the hospital, so that people wouldn't have to
don't
invite
do that
you to their
in other countries that much,
No,
right?
apparently
That's so
not
weird.
at all.
It's like a party in the hospital room.
Yes.
If you think about it now, it's insane.
It's insane.
The
And
mom
even
literally
then-
just had the craziest moment in her life.
Exactly.
There's
You're
a newborn
bleeding,
human.
you're, like,
your
leaking.
vagina is
Yeah.
broken, and you're just like not broken, but I mean ripped maybe.
Let's say it's not comfortable to entertain. Yeah, no, exactly. And luckily, my doctor, she had already said, visiting hours at the hospital you're going to have a baby at, they're really long.
Yeah.
And she said, just lie about them on the card.
Good.
And so we lied about them so that we
Yeah.
had some time for ourselves.
Yeah.
But still, I thought that was a very intense period.
Yeah.
But we were over the moon, very
Yeah.
happy. But it was crazy. And Elliot didn't sleep. I mean, at first he slept like a regular baby, whatever you can expect, every 2 hours feeding. And but he was very upset in between feedings a lot, and that kind of stayed for the first 6 months. He cried a lot. I think maybe like borderline
Crybaby.
crybaby.
Is that like a
Colicky.
term you're allowed? Like, is that an official term, a crybaby?
In Dutch it is,
Yeah.
but they're kind of like stepping away from it. But I
I
don't
mean
know
it
if
in a nice
English,
way. Like I
call it a colicky baby.
A colicky, but colicky is like
I know, but I
pain,
think
tummy
that's-
pain.
We didn't know what was
it
going
was.
on with Elliot, and we were surrounded by people with very good sleepers who were always telling us that this was not normal.
Okay.
So that made it more difficult.
Yeah.
Because we would go on, we didn't know it back then, but we would go on to have 2 more babies who would be very bad sleepers.
Yeah.
But just kind of letting it go made all the difference.
Yeah.
But then we were like, oh no, there's something wrong with him, or it's something we are doing.
Yeah.
We need to go to doctors, get allergies, and I need to not eat dairy anymore and not do this. And, and it was all not necessary.
No.
He was totally healthy. He was just probably very sensitive. And eventually we were told by a very good pediatrician. He sat us down. He was like, this is not your fault.
Yeah.
This is not Elliot's fault. Elliot is a baby. Babies have this kind of rhythm. Not every baby, but it's not so exceptional as what you think it is.
Yeah.
He just wants closeness. This can be because of your birth story, with him being born a little early. But it's also very normal. Like babies' gut, they're unfinished when they are born. It still has to like ripen, and some babies experience more pain from that. And that pain is not like he would cry so loudly. Like we would take turns with earbuds because it was just for us to try and stay calm with him. It's not like we didn't stay calm, but to try and also like ooze peacefulness, and if you're in a room with a crying baby the whole time, that becomes very difficult. So first 6 months were very, very hard with crying, and then when he was around a year, he started sleeping bigger chunks. And then eventually at like 1.5, he was a good sleeper.
How did that 1.5 years though without sleep impact you? Like your mental health and your physical health, just health in general?
It's weird because in the family, I was always known as, she needs a lot of sleep. Like Laura needs a lot of sleep.
I remember you used to sleep in all the time. How did you do that when you were like a teenager?
I didn't sleep in all the time.
Yeah.
I was never allowed to sleep in.
Yeah, but you slept in. You were able to sleep in if you wanted to, unless our mom was like,
Mom was always like, get up.
Time to clean the house.
And I would bring you guys to school.
Yeah, but I don't mean on school days. I mean in the weekends.
But the weekends, I don't remember that at all
Yeah.
because when I met Bart, I would know that he would always sleep in until like 10 and I
Yeah.
would just lie there. Like,
Oh.
what are we doing?
Well, I mean, it's also because there's all of a sudden a boy in your room. You were probably just like, what are you
Maybe,
doing
but
here? No, I'm
I
kidding.
don't remember that we were allowed to
No?
sleep in until like 10.
We were never really allowed
Maybe
to
like
sleep
until
in,
9, but you're always a very early riser.
Yeah.
Maybe for you
For
as
me,
a
it seemed
younger...
like, wow, you sleep till
Yeah.
8? Good for you.
Yeah, it was probably just that. Well,
And
anyways,
yes, I don't know if you guys had that, but our mom, she used to wake us up. She was like, if you
Yeah.
can go out late, you can wake up early.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. And she's like, let's tidy the house.
yeah.
Why? Like, why do we have to tidy the house every
There's
single day?
laundry. Yeah,
There's
I mean,
laundry.
when I moved out and I started doing laundry, and the dryer, the timer
Yeah.
would go off, I'd be like,
You would get like a trauma, like a
but I was
flashback.
like, I'm just gonna let it sit. That felt so rebellious because
Wow.
Mom was always like, the dryer's ready. Everyone come over. I'd go like this, fold
I
everything.
would be hiding when that was
Yeah, you
happening.
would always like, I have to go to the bathroom. But
Let it be known our mom did chill a bit after we left the house. I guess as soon as there was less laundry. I mean, I could imagine with 4 kids, it must have
exactly.
gone out like it must have.
No, and like all 4, including the kids. But it was
Yeah. Anyways, okay, wait. So sleep. So yeah, you need like naturally you always needed a lot of sleep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I hear that now they're saying like everyone
Needs a lot of sleep. Yeah. But like I feel like probably it's like everyone needs at least minimum 7 hours, but then it can range from people needing like 7, 8, 9 hours. Like yeah.
No, I used to always need a lot of sleep. I was not especially thinking of sleeping in when I said that, but rather like going to bed at a very regular time.
And you're always a good sleeper. Like you could fall asleep, you didn't wake up.
I was always a good sleeper.
You could sleep in the car, like you could sleep everywhere.
Yep. But then with having Elliot, I was up a lot. And I actually did that quite well. Like surprisingly well. Sometimes I would think that too, like about myself, like how am I doing this? But
what is this superpower I have?
I have a superpower. And also, I don't know if this is like scientific, but I always got like such adrenaline from having short nights. It's really weird. No,
It's because your body is compensating, right? You need that adrenaline to get through the day.
but it sometimes in the middle of the night, like because don't get me wrong, it was very hard sometimes, and it felt very lonely a lot of the time. You're sitting there and thinking, what am I doing wrong? You know, and with Elliot, it was very, very difficult because he had no structure at all. Like you would not know if you would go back to bed. Is this for like 15 minutes or for 3 hours?
Yeah.
And that made all the difference with his sisters. They would also, for a long time, still ask feedings or some loving at night, which was all fine, but you would always know like 2 hours, definitely.
Yeah,
And
it was
then-
more predictable.
More predictable. The unpredictability of his sleeping pattern was like Chinese torture because the worst is waking up. Like going, it's staying up for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
That's one thing, but going back and hoping for some sleep and then getting woken up again.
Yeah.
That was very, very heavy. But yeah, I stayed home for quite a while. With Elliot, I stayed home for 8 months. Depending where you're listening from, that is a long time or a short time.
Yeah.
Here in Belgium, that is the time that you get if you take parenting leave full time.
Okay.
And
Like
all of it.
And it's normally like 3 months everyone, and then you can take others.
15 weeks is the normal leave, and then after that you can take some extra parenting leave, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
So happy that I did that.
Yeah.
I always tell people, like,
If you have the option.
and if you need that little nudge to stay home longer, come talk to me.
Yeah.
I'm someone who will always help you to take that step to have babies, because I'm always, if someone's like, I don't know if we go for it. I don't know if we should have a third, go for it. I love that. I love everything about it. Do it, go for it. And the same for staying home longer. I'm always like, stay home, work less. Your family is your priority.
Yeah.
And also your mental health. It is impossible for me at least, and it's kind of like know yourself, but for me, it would have been impossible to combine working and caring for a baby in the way that I feel good caring for a baby, which is maybe for some people like, wow, you are not thinking about yourself at all. Or you're, I love that. I love that phase. Just kind of,
I mean, when they're
totally
newborn,
going into it, and, you know, lots of skin contact and just baby wearing, breastfeeding, just
going all in on it.
All in.
Enjoying it and being
all
there.
in. And it's the most difficult thing that I've ever done, but it's also the most beautiful thing. And that is something that I think Bart and I, both of us, that was so surprising for us. Like, wow, this is, you can have those two emotions at the same time. Like, it can be the toughest time of your life, because that sometimes really was the case. And at the same time, the most beautiful period of your life.
Doing hard things are rewarding, right? Like,
and the love you feel for your kids, it's just, Also, because, you know a lot about having babies just because you're so close to us and to Olivia now, and you have friends with babies. But still, and I feel like awkward saying this, but it really is something that you have to experience yourself to completely know what it entails. And I never knew that before I had babies. I was always like, I think I'm prepared because I'm the eldest of 4. And it's going to be difficult, but for us, it's going to be different. Things I said before I became a mom, really strange.
Like, apologies to everyone I offended before I was a mom.
Yes. I know that Bart's sister, she already had babies, and she'd be like, oh, we can't come over because, blah, 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 has to take a nap. And Bart and I would be like, why? Just skip the nap, But we were really, really obsessed with naps with Elliot because of that not being able to predict his nights. And the only thing that was kind of predictable was if he takes a good nap in the day, the night
is better.
Tends to go better. And we were having such bad nights that is something that we really didn't want to give up. So we also, always scheduled around naps. Whereas when I didn't have babies yet, I'd be like, they can
just
sleep
take
in the
them
stroller.
with you,
no.
And every baby is different. With some babies, you maybe can take them with you and sleep in the stroller.
Every phase is different. Because sometimes you're in a phase that suddenly it works. You're like, oh, okay, we can go and have like walks in the park, and then they have a good nap, and then other months suddenly they don't like that anymore, or it doesn't work.
Going back to how your health kind of suffered under the sleepless nights. Like, I know part of what you always tell people is surrender. What's that thing you always say?
I almost wrote a book about this because
you should write it.
Yes, but now
if you're a publisher, reach out.
Are behind us, I want to say, but I actually had a really bad night this past night because Phoebe had a really bad cough and she couldn't sleep, and then she was like on me all night, and
they just got some bad news, so maybe that had to do with it.
Their grandparents' pet died, and they were very close to the dog.
Rip, little doggy.
So I think maybe that kind of had to do with it. But in general, we're kind of past the sleepless nights. So for me now, that drive I had to write that book is kind of like behind me. But maybe someday I'll write it, and otherwise, please, someone else do, because there are so many books and so many accounts on how to have your baby sleep. And I am like, for me, that's a trigger. Like, I am so against baby sleep training. Like, you have no idea. Why? Because I tried all of it. Well, almost. I never tried like the real cry it out method, but letting them cry, stay in the room, not talking, picking them, not talking, not picking them up, going out of the room, taking steps, going out of the...
All the tips.
Everything. And I never felt comfortable with them. Like, they would tear my heart out because it felt so like counterintuitive. But at the same time, I was trying to protect my sanity. Like, I can't keep doing this having no sleep, and I have to go back to work, and because I did combine that working and not sleeping, and so you just try everything. But the peace of mind I would have gotten if someone had told me earlier, just let it go. you have a beautiful baby. It is so normal for a baby to want to be like attached to you nonstop. In this current society, that is something that is not possible.
Yeah.
Or very difficult.
This society, like, why is it not tailored to anyone's needs besides
men,
old working men?
Exactly.
I wonder who created this society.
Yes, so strange. They should write something about that. Why is no one talking about that?
Why is that? And now all old guys are like, why is everyone mad at us? I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
anyways, yeah.
It is, it's so difficult to go through bad nights and not having the recognition of that being difficult. It's more often I would get the reaction of, well, you must be doing something wrong then. Yeah, this is something
Sometimes
that you've
things just
created,
are, though.
but sometimes things just are, and most of the times things are like that with a baby.
Yeah.
Like, you can have a good sleeper, and I'm happy for you if you have a good sleeper. But in general, babies, and not only newborn babies and children until 3, 4, it is very normal for them to have the need to feel the proximity of their parents during the night.
It's almost even triggering, I feel, and I'm not even a mom, but when someone's like, do you have a good baby? And I get so triggered. I'm like,
yes.
What does that even mean, a good baby? Like a quiet baby? Is that a good baby? Is that what you want? Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like there is like a lot has changed already in the past 8 years, because when I became a mom, it was weird for me to have like a baby carrier or do that baby wearing thing. I had no friends breastfeeding.
Wow.
So, our mom breastfed us.
Yeah.
And she was like, obviously you're going to do that, right? Like, so, and I'm so happy that I had that.
You had that example.
I was like, I'll try.
Yeah. Not to be like the mommy police, but like,
I don't want to be the mommy police.
Yeah. But when it comes to breastfeeding,
secretly, I am the mommy police. Like, I totally respect everyone's, like, I always say the sanity of a mom always gets priority.
Yes. You have to put on your own mask first.
Yes. Yeah. Like that. Like, you cannot, that's the most important for a baby, to have a loving mother and father. Mother who is there and, who can give love, is not like totally deprived of energy and whatever. But for me, breastfeeding is something very important. And I went on to become like a breastfeeding influencer.
Oh, girl.
Yes. And I was even I even got the title of like top 10 mommy breastfeeder ambassadors. Yeah.
You know everything about it.
I have the feeling that I loved learning about it. Yeah. I like read.
So if anyone has any boob / breastfeeding questions,
I still daily get boob questions.
Yeah.
Even though now I haven't been breastfeeding for a whole time, because Phoebe, I breastfed until she was 2.5, but she's 4 now. So this is a long time ago. And still, I get questions, which I so appreciate. So breastfeeding. I really don't want to come across as the mommy police, because I don't like what they stand for, which is judging. And I don't like to judge.
No.
And but
everyone has different situations and experiences and options. Yeah.
But in the
realm of possibility.
And in general, it's just, for me, I think it is very important to encourage mothers to breastfeed their babies, because there is just, how can I put this without like hurting anyone's feelings?
Yeah, because if you didn't breastfeed, like you did what you could in that time. Yeah.
There's a good alternative, and I am so happy that the alternative is there.
Yeah.
But it is an alternative. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, maybe I shouldn't like go into this, because I think it's so political, and so many things in parenting are so political. It's crazy. But yeah, anyways, I enjoyed breastfeeding. Yeah. I also hated it. I worried about it. First it didn't work. Then I, had to like reboot my breasts, doing everything possible, but I did, and I was very happy to. And then the second and the third time, it went very easily. And I always say it's the most
again, one of the hardest things, but the most beautiful things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Anything. It's like what Brene Brown says. What I shared this yesterday, but you are either in your comfort zone or you're out of your comfort zone. You can't do both things, but one is definitely going to be more rewarding than the other.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that one. Yes, and I think that is one of the things that maybe you can do when you're about to become a mom is try to get in that comfort zone with your body.
Yeah.
So many of my friends back in the day were like, breastfeeding, like my breasts, those are sexual. They're for boys. Yeah. I was like, your breasts are, like, we were not raised like that.
No.
Like we were really raised like in tune with our bodies.
Yeah. Actually, we really were.
I think so.
We were raised without any shame about our bodies. No shame. Like,
Yeah, no shame. This is what a female body looks like. This is what it does.
Yeah.
It's got, like, I think that is then maybe a very modern approach.
Thank you, Mom.
Yeah, thank you, Mom.
And Dad, I guess. That's maybe weird when we're talking about bodies, but also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and just to say that so helps in the story of becoming a mother, the story of giving birth, and also breastfeeding, and kind of like tuning into that like natural aspect of being in sync with your baby, because it really is like magic. Like, you know, your baby sucks your breast, your nipple, and that really signals to your brain to then make happy hormones, and the happy hormones release the milk. And your baby is like given happy hormones, you know? It's just like,
it's crazy.
It's like Avatar. Like, like when they like, and then, you know, everyone in our society, they go to Avatar, they're like, oh yeah, I get that. You like, you know, plug into the horse and you're one. That is amazing. But breastfeeding, yikes.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this is like what you do.
This is life.
Baby.
Yeah.
This is life.
I mean, for me, it was the first time that you were pregnant that I realized, like, oh my God, you actually grow a human in your body. You are literally God. Like, what is happening? It's so magical, but it's also the most normal thing in the world, which is also crazy. Like, and that's always like, that is literally, this whole world is magical. Yeah. And like science is just explaining magic, basically, right?
Kind of, yeah.
You're like, kind of.
No, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But so, to reel it back in, if you have any questions about breastfeeding, go to Laura. Go to her Instagram. But the tired nights. Like we were finishing
so
that.
So then, I almost wrote a book about it. And my tips are, the first is surrender to them. It's just the fights at night, the mental like discussion in your head the whole time, like, this shouldn't be happening. I should do this different. Maybe the light on, maybe the light off. Maybe I should have given an extra bottle on top of the breastfeeding. Yeah. Maybe I should put him on his belly. Yeah. Maybe, you know.
Should.
No.
Yeah.
Just, and take the easy routes. Like, but he should really be sleeping in his own bed. Why?
Yeah.
Why? Unless you say that you are not getting sleep.
Yeah.
And I get that, because in the long run, I always also wanted our babies to sleep in their own crib. But just surrender. To be like, tonight it is going to be easier for me to just spoon with my baby the whole night and have him latch on whenever he wants. And then, come morning, I'll have had some sleep. Yeah. And whereas if you're like, okay, no, I have to be practicing this and that now, no, it's just so tiring. And also, bad nights don't mean that you're going to have a bad morning or a bad day. Yeah. I would always, because I catch myself saying this to the kids. Oh, go to bed because we have an important day tomorrow. And that
already
is like
so much pressure
ingrained in me. Like, no, I'm awake now. It's, I've been awake 6 times and it's 4:00. I'm going to have a sucky day tomorrow. Yeah. No. what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas is the same for nights. What happens in nights stays in the night. And that morning, bam.
Yeah.
New beginning.
Yeah.
And I would sit there in the night and think, actually, I've had really good days after terrible nights.
Yeah.
Like, I've done this, that, and then that other day I went to there. And I can do this.
Yeah.
And that helps too.
It does. Like, you've inspired me with that, because every time you post something about that and I read it, because I'm a really bad sleeper. I don't have a baby, but I am the baby. Yeah. And then I remember that, because I would lay up thinking like, oh my God, I have to wake up at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I have to teach 2 classes. My body needs to be rested. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But just let it go.
Yeah.
It's a new day.
It is what it is.
Of course, chronic sleep deprivation is not good for you.
No.
But once in a while, in moments of your life, in chapters where it's difficult, where you have babies, where this and that happens, like, let it go. And actually, and I'll have a coffee. Sometimes I'll even put on some mascara and I'm like, it's a new day, let's go. And then I think of you and I'm like, oh, thanks, Laura.
Exactly.
Thank you,
Because
sister.
that's my third tip. My third tip is, in the morning, put on some color, colorful clothes, put on some makeup, make sure that like physically you feel good.
Yeah.
That you're like, oh, I look good today. Mm-hmm. And then that kind of like the day is kind of set.
Yeah.
Giving other people compliments is also something that I think gives you energy.
I love that.
Throughout the day, just be like, oh, I love your pants. And then often from that same person or another person, you'll get like a compliment back.
Yeah.
And
is that why you're so nice to me all the time?
Yes,
you want compliments back.
It's very egocentric.
No.
Essential, yeah. Just like, now I'll give the, universe something. Okay, universe, give
it back.
Give me a
But it also
compliment.
just feels good to be nice and to give compliments. Yeah.
Yes, it's much, the alternative would be, wow, I'm going to have a really bad day because I had a bad night.
Yeah.
And you attract all the bad energy.
Yeah.
And you go to your work and you look like crap and you feel like crap. People are telling you look like crap. Oh, are you okay? You look terrible. Yeah. How is that ever going to be a good day?
How is that going to help? Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then Elliot was a very bad sleeper. Amelia was also a pretty bad sleeper. Yeah. And Phoebe was actually like a good baby sleeper because she would always have like a structure and she'd just wake up every 3 hours, which was for us, we're like, wow, we've got a sleeper on our hands. This is going to be amazing. But then she kept doing that until she was like 2.5.
Yeah.
And she was happy as long as like I was there. And especially she always wanted to have my boobs. So at one point I was also like, I like the whole attachment parenting theory, but for me, this is not working anymore because I have 2 other kids. I have a job. I have to kind of make sure we combine them. And it was also kind of like Bart's advice to say, maybe we should try and rethink these nights now. Yeah. So when she was like 19 months, I told her the boobies are asleep at night.
Yeah.
They need to sleep. And in the day, you can have all the boobies you like, but at night. And it was very strange, but she understood.
Oh.
One night, we kind of like were like sad about it together.
Yeah.
Like, I know, isn't that stupid? Come here, I'll just cuddle you. Oh, and the boobies are not working. That is so sad. It was weird, but it worked. The next night, she never asked to drink again in the nights. And so we slept.
Yeah.
But she would, sometimes wake up for other things as well. Yeah. She wasn't a very, very good sleeper for the first 2.5 years. But then,
Yeah. Okay, so fast forward, you have 3 babies.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends are always like, how does your sister do it? She looks so put together. Let's just say we were raised being really good performers. No, I'm kidding. But I think it's a little bit part of it, actually.
It's so true.
I don't know why. We're really good at...
I don't always think that that's a bad thing.
No, yeah. You honestly, you fake it till you make it, I think is a big part of it. Like if you tell yourself you feel good, sometimes it just... helps.
Are you sad? Are you feeling sad?
No, I'm so fucking happy. No, I'm kidding. I think, of course, there's a balance, but you have to, I always tell my students this in class as well, like you have to allow yourself to feel emotions, which is really scary. But if you don't let yourself feel them, they'll get stuck in your body. And if you feel it, you can release it faster. But I mean, it's just the reality is on Instagram, there's only so much you can show, right?
Yes.
And I feel like you really try to show all sides, but people don't see all sides, right?
And then of our day.
Yes. And then when you show a sad side, when I do that, for instance, I'll post one video where I'm like, oh, I had a bad day. And all the time everyone's like, oh, are you okay? And then it's like, that was one, I don't know. So it's hard finding that balance to show all of it because it's one little snippet. You don't see everything. So how are you feeling right now?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I agree with what you say about having been raised to kind of perform is maybe like a strong word, but I think that for our mom, it was very important, like what all of our appearances were like, and that's all like from a good.
Yeah, from a self-loving. It wasn't like if you don't look good, no one will like you. Not at all.
No, but you know, our mom would always wear makeup and look put together, and that's kind of, I think, something that you then kind of that you just see as a daughter. So. Me too. I never go out without makeup, and then I think, ooh, maybe that's not very feminist of me.
We're so different in that. But that's one thing.
Yeah. I always wear makeup. Yeah, not
You're
a lot,
also really beautiful without makeup.
Yeah, no. I am, but I look a lot better with makeup.
Yeah. Well, everyone, whenever I do wear makeup, I pass a mirror and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot I was so pretty.
I look hot today. No. So yes, we were raised by a mom who loves beautiful things, loves making herself beautiful, loves making her daughters and the house look beautiful.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. It's a homely, nice, happy feeling. And I also do that. And then we were raised by a dad who is really social and always networking.
And very positive.
And that's kind of like a switch that I can switch.
Yeah.
Bart always says that. Like on one hand, you're kind of shy and not good in big crowds, but you have this switch that you can turn on.
Yeah.
And I have a switch.
And
then I'm like a social butterfly. And then I go home like,
I'm so drained.
Yeah, I'm drained.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
You know, just really quickly, our dad is so cute because for those of you that don't know, after my breakup, I went to live in my dad's apartment. We're basically roommates. He's never there. He uses it as an office. He's always at his girlfriend's place. But since I'm traveling so much and I was just out of a relationship, it seemed like a good option for a little bit. But it means I get to spend a lot more time with him now as an adult, and it's really interesting. And so he just had major surgery on his arm, on his shoulder, and it's so cute to see how he peps himself up. He'll be like, it's okay. This is just a challenge for now, but I'm going to get out of this. Like, I'll hear him talk to himself, literally.
I'm a millennial, so again, I'm going to link this with the Friends episode. But this is like Bruce Willis in Friends in front of the mirror being like, you're hot, you look good, or I don't know what he says, but like.
But it's so good and it's so powerful. And we saw that as kids and I see it now and he still does it. And he has a big but challenging life just like every human being does. And he'll really be like, it's okay, I'm gonna get through this. I'm only gonna get out of this stronger. I'm gonna do my best. And I'm like, I see where I get my positivity from. And but I also see where it can go into toxic positivity a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit. Yes. No, not like you are ever.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah. It's a fine line.
It's a fine line.
But so as a mom, I can imagine there are moments that it just all does feel too much, right? You have 3 kids. They might all be fighting at the same time and you have a job. You still have to do, homework, checking, what's that word? Grading.
Yeah, it helps.
You have a husband who has a whole, other life going on in his head. Like you have 2 grown-ups, 3 kids. They all have their own realities, their own minds, their own brains. And you have to show up at work at the same time. You show up in your...
I remember when we just had, I think we had Amelia and I went back to work. So 2 babies. And we had them very close together. So there's 18 months between them.
Yeah.
So 2 kids under 1.5. And then I stayed home for a while again. But when I went back to work, I remember a colleague saying, have you really arrived already? Are you is your mind present already? Like, because she knew having kids herself, like you've had a whole life before you get to work. Like when before you have kids, you just go to work and that's when your day starts.
Yeah.
But when you have kids, you've had a whole day before you go, before you get to work. And then now that's kind of like my free time. Just work.
Yeah. I remember you said that with the first time when you went back to work. I know you were so afraid of it.
Yes.
You were like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. But then you did. I remember you saying like, wow, it actually feels good to have this part of myself back again as well.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, definitely. I still think it's very difficult to balance those two sides. But I think it helps trying to stay true to yourself. And I think I'm lucky that I have that I really know what my shortcomings are. Like, I need structure and peace and quiet sometimes. So I would not be able to thrive in a life with a full-time demanding job and then having 3 children. I need to pick my battles. So I work part-time. I stayed home for a long time. In our
in Belgian society,
because I know that that's what fills my cup, and that's how I can again give peace and calmness in our family. And having a calm and a peaceful, structured family is
one of your values.
One of my values, but it's also something that makes everyone happy then.
Yeah.
If you are a very nervous creature and you always have to hurry to school and hurry to your job and then you have to work at night, and for me, I would convey that to my children the whole time, like stress. And again, that's something that I take from home because I think our mom, obviously sometimes with 4 children, could have a short fuse, but she was always like, let's do one thing at a time. Like she was home with us. We would come home from school and she'd have a little snack and sit with us and we'd talk about our day. And also in the mornings, I remember that, okay, sometimes things would go wrong and, you know, we'd have to drag you in your PJs to school or whatever.
Me in my PJs.
Because
that was the outfit I
chose. But in general, I feel like we were not a very hurried family. No. And I liked that. So I was like, that's something I want to also be able to give my my family, to be very present and calm. And that's actually something that people who follow me on Instagram often say, like, wow, your mornings, how do you do that? So I'm planning on making a reel about it. But there's, you know, it's just we have a certain structure that everyone kind of holds to. I get up a little bit earlier. I get up. You know, when you have very bad nights and babies that don't sleep, this doesn't work yet. But then once you get to that next stage, I always wake up a little earlier so that I just have like 10 minutes to myself. Yeah. No one else is up. Go to the bathroom alone.
You need your moment.
Yes. I do my makeup.
Yeah.
And I get dressed, go downstairs. And then a lot of the time they're still not up. I have some time to be alone downstairs. I start making their lunches and then I wake them up. And then I can just be there for them. And then it doesn't matter if someone doesn't want to put on their clothes right away, or if someone is having a breakdown because they forgot their stuffed animal at their friends and they've just realized, doesn't matter.
My bunny?
Yeah, then I can just take time and say, I always think also, I don't like coming late at all, but I'm always like, I'd rather be late than everyone having a bad day because of these 5 minutes that happened this morning.
Yeah.
And then most of the time, I'm still on time.
Yeah. And time is a construct.
Well,
it's not even
something
real.
You would say because you're always late. I remember us being in the bathroom together. We shared a bathroom, which in most cultures is, and most...
normal. Well, or what were you going to say?
No, is a luxury to only have to share the bathroom with one other person.
Yeah, with the 2 of us.
But it was hell. Because you were so messy.
Excuse me?
Now, of course, we know it's your ADHD.
Well, and I already know that you have ADHD too, probably. Let's get her checked out, guys. But it's very genetic.
Oh, time check. We have to go have lunch.
Yeah, no, we have 30 minutes. Well, we have 10. We're going to wrap this up. We have 10 minutes.
See how she does that? Time's a construct.
No. You know what my brain was thinking? We have to be there in 30 minutes. So if we wrap this up.
I know how your brain thinks, because that's what I was going to say. We'd be in the bathroom getting ready to go somewhere. Alice would be naked, butt naked, and she'd be on the phone. She's like, yeah, I'll be there in 5 in the center of the city. We live like 40 minutes away. She's like, no, but I'll be there in 15. This time of day, 15 minutes. Not humanly possible. You're still naked. Yeah. So
I'm sorry if I was ever too late for you. If you're listening to this, I apologize.
So
but I never get mad when people are late because I understand you have a life. Does that help?
Life? You should not say that, because now it seems like other people are not important enough for you to be on time for.
I mean, I don't mind if someone's late to me because I know, like, there might have been traffic.
Oh yeah, like
because
that.
I know. I mean it like that.
No.
Now I'm making it worse.
Yeah, you can cut
I'm
this
just
out.
saying you can always arrive late when you meet up with me because, let's cut this out. I'm making it worse.
I was just saying
Yes.
that sometimes it's that I think it's very important to remain calm, and it helps that I am very patient. That is something that Bart is always like, you've got so much patience.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't like it sometimes because he's like, you should set some boundaries. You should be like, no, this is enough now.
Yeah.
This is where it ends.
Yeah.
I went to therapy, and she was like, it's like Buddha. You know this probably from yoga. Like, yes, come over, but stop or something. I know. You know, that's how good I listened. I forgot because I love how patient I am. I think it's a very good skill in motherhood, but I should also sometimes, I think, set boundaries a little more. That would help me in all sort of things, because I always say yes.
People have a really hard time with boundaries. I think that's a millennial thing, a generational thing, a societal thing.
Being the eldest of 4, I think. Being the
wanting to
daughter
help, wanting to be
of
liked.
divorced parents. Wanting to be liked.
Yeah. But something really interesting I heard the other day is a lot of time people are like, oh, that person didn't respect my boundaries. Oh, they went over my boundaries again. Blah, blah, blah. And what I heard someone say is that boundaries are not about the other person. Boundaries are for you.
Yeah.
So if something's happening that's not within your boundaries,
then you're the guard.
It's your responsibility to step back. You don't even have to say, I don't like it when you do this, because the other person, it doesn't have anything to do with it.
Oh yeah, I like
No one can respect your boundaries besides you.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really interesting if you think about it in that way.
Yeah, I think parenting also has I don't think I've ever learned as much about myself as I have in the past 8 years.
Yeah.
In the role of being a parent, you learn so much about setting boundaries, being patient, things about yourself. Like, as I was saying earlier, I think it's very valuable to know yourself well, because then you don't get to a point where everything boils over and like it just goes to shits.
Yeah.
Because I kind of like build in these safeties. Like, for example, staying home a little longer, not working full time, but also we have arranged our life for it to be easy. We live very close to the kids' school. I live very close to work. Bart is very flexible, can often also take the kids to school or pick them up. We live close to our parents, who are also very, very involved. So all of those things, people sometimes people go, wow, that is, so easy for you. That is nice. And then I go, yes, but
you made it that way.
We thought about this.
Yeah.
Yes. This is, and we thought about it. Sometimes we had to have it suggested to us. Like, I remember mom saying, you live in the city, it's a little further, it's difficult for me to get there sometimes. Remember, like, I want to be here for you guys. But this is a whole different way of being there for each other than if we would live 10 minutes away from each other. And you're having such hard nights, you're having...
People have the tendency to put agency outside of themselves and think, like, for other people, oh, that must be nice, that must be nice, that must be easy. But we forget that we are in charge of our own lives. And of course, there are limitations and external factors and all that stuff.
And that is sometimes maybe something that I so think like that, that sometimes I have to be careful that I don't hurt people's feelings when I talk about this subject, because I'm always like, why not stay home?
Yeah.
Like, just quit your job.
Like, there are, of course, other realities, but maybe not quit your job, but take, 1 day off, or instead change to a job that is a little more flexible. Like, you really are in charge. And maybe you'll make a little less money, but do you really need that amount of savings. Maybe you can do with a little bit less. Or
same for us.
Yeah. And of course, we're talking within a certain bubble.
Yeah.
But
Yes. Definitely, because that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
We live in that bubble where you get to make these decisions, which is great.
There's a safety net that we can fall back on.
There are a lot of people that I talk to that are like, I wish I could take that parental leave that, 4 months extra. I wish I could. And I go, well, why not? Yeah, but, we're doing the house. We're getting a new bathroom or so.
Yeah.
Just use the old bathroom.
Yeah. What's the priority right now? Do you need the new bathroom?
Yeah. Everyone's like always in like my generation, lots of people are always pimping their houses like crazy. I really like to live in a beautiful house, so I get that. But I have tons of things that I would change to this house, but I don't, because I think that is not a priority for me.
Yeah.
And going on faraway trips for now is not a priority either. Obviously everyone has different priorities, but for me, that's like a no-brainer. If I would be unhappy at work, working too much, being away from my family, then I would just not do it anymore.
Yeah. And so if you're listening and you have the option, just think about it. Like, think, what about,
talk to me.
What are your options?
The very black and white perspective on this.
We have more agency, again, control than we think. And of course, life is crazy. There are plot twists. Things happen that are way out of our control. Yes. But there are certain things that are within our control. And then think like, is it really, do you need to make that 200 euros extra a month?
Yeah.
Maybe if you don't do it, like, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, that's something else that, like, we were raised without really knowing how important money was, and we're very lucky in that respect. And sometimes in my adult life now, Bart would laugh, be like, "Yeah, but you don't even know what this costs, or you have no, money is necessary." But at the same time, both of us, we are not materialistic at all.
No.
Like, I don't care about money at all.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I would be happy having no money.
No, of course not.
But, like, I don't know what I make a month. I have no clue.
Yeah.
No clue, never have.
Yeah.
And so when people go, yeah, but then what do you make if you take that parental leave? You almost get nothing. I'm like, honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, I know I can buy enough food. I know I can pay the rent. Like, I know I can do that stuff. But
I know I can do that stuff. Obviously, because I'm lucky enough to have a partner who is working, but I like, it is not important to me. Like, if people would be like, if you stay home 4 months with your baby, you're not paid anything, then I would still do it. Yeah.
I'd rather not have extra but again, coming from my bubble, I'd rather not have any extra savings and spend time with my baby than go working. And I don't know. Yeah.
It's weird.
It's a really hard conversation to have. I must say, maybe we're a little bit different in that. I don't know, but I am not materialistic at all. But I've been working really hard on my money mindset. Shout out to Money Mindset, because it is important, right? And because I do want to have a big, full life.
Yeah, and also you're putting in a lot.
Yes.
And sometimes you're not getting out enough.
Exactly. Because I love what I do so much. I would do so much for free or for very little money, because my value is helping people. Like, I just want to help people.
I also have that.
Yeah.
I literally, I always say this, like, I do get why I'm paid for teaching, but often I'm like,
I would do this for free.
Yeah, I'm like, I would do this for free. Like,
so that is something that I'm working on. But again, not to be rich, but more like because energy is money, and also because
time is money.
Because how amazing would it be if we are in a position that I could be like, hey, I'm taking all of you guys on a trip tomorrow. Let's go. Like, that would be amazing. But we're going off course. We have 5 minutes. So I want to ask you a closing question. We'll do this again at some point. We have so much more to talk about. Let's talk about our parents' divorce.
Yeah. No. Yeah, we should do a set of 10 then.
No, I always ask my guests about their unique personal wellness toolbox. And you kind of touched on some points naturally already in this conversation. But like, everyone has their own toolbox that they can reach out to preventatively and reactively, right? You're feeling really overwhelmed, you're feeling really anxious, and what works for you? For some people it's calling a friend, for other people it's going on a walk, for some people it's doing a workout. What are some of those things that work for you?
Well, I think I already said that I like to prevent.
Yes, I love that.
And that is with me, like knowing myself, knowing I need some downtime now. You know, for example, sometimes I just need to be alone at home and just be able to do like housekeeping, but just alone. That gives me peace.
If you want, you can always come do that at my place. I'll leave you alone.
I'm good. I've got enough to do. But so like that, I have my moments in the week that I can do that.
Do you plan that in, or you already, now it kind of just...
I have a day off. Okay. So I know that day off, half of it goes to doing just that. And it makes me happy because it gives me stress when the kids wake up and are like, I have no socks. Where's my bag? Where's this? Oh, maybe it's still in laundry. And obviously that happens at our house too. But I noticed that I get a lot of peace of mind when everything just has its place and everyone knows where to find it and it works. So that's one of the things. Also, I try to like fill my cup before I go into a moment that I know is going to be quite like intense. For example, when the kids were still tiny, and so we had 3 kids under 4 and like a month. So almost 3 kids under 4. That time they would all come home, and you know, I would make sure that after having had a bad night with Phoebe, I would have something that would kind of like cheer me up. And it could just be a piece of chocolate and a hot tea. Yeah. But just have that little moment that I sit down 5 minutes and have that tea.
Me time.
Me time.
With a little celebration.
And then, okay, now I'm ready.
Yeah.
So that is something that I still do when I have like a difficult moment at work or something. I also think, you know what, I'll go to that bakery and I'll get myself that little treat. Or, you know what, tonight I'm not going to cook. Yeah. I'm just we'll do like breakfast for dinner. Yeah. And we just have cereal. Yeah. And that gives me, no stress for that evening. But then when I'm having a difficult time and already am struggling, then what do? I think that is more difficult for me. Yeah. Because I used to be athletic when I was growing up. Like I used to do a lot of sports, but I'm not like you in that respect. I don't like it as much. Yeah. I always feel good after having done it. I do. Apparently I'm quite like good at it. Like I'm quite sporty, but it's very difficult to like stick to
stimulate to like yourself to start.
Yes, it's so difficult for me as it is to say, I'm going to take this chunk of time and I'm not going to do anything for someone else in that chunk of time. Yeah. I can't do that.
I think that's really important for you to work on.
Yes, it's so difficult. Like I don't do that. Yeah. And I have to say that I've started doing that like the past year, and the only way I can convince myself to do that is making it a time to do sports, because that is functional. Yeah. So then I'm like, okay, that, I'm still doing something at least. Yeah. And that is why I'm away this evening. Yeah. And then I step out of it. But I think it's kind of like a staircase. And that's my first step of being able to say, you know what, on Tuesdays from 8:30 till 10, don't count on me. Yeah. If they come out of bed, if they, because Bart is a very hands-on dad. Like he's not the type of guy like, where are the lunch boxes? No, he does.
He'll know what to do.
He knows what to do. So it's not like I have to be here for that reason. And he always, it's just, I don't know. And the kids are very like,
clicked into
me. So they're always like,
because they're used to you always being there.
Yeah. Why are you're always away? I'm like, not always away at all.
This is like once a week.
Yeah. And this is once a week and they're already in bed.
Yeah. And you're also giving them a really good example though when you do that. Like, hey, it's okay to take time for yourself.
Yes. So I'm working on that, and that was the first really step. And I do notice that when I do some more sports, that I do feel like better. Yeah. So that is something that when I feel bad, I go, oh yeah, I should do some more like sports again. I should take that up again. And then,
but also I know like, this is what I say all the time, but it doesn't even have to be like going to take a workout outside of the house. It could be like a 10-minute yoga stretch when the kids went to bed. Yeah. Exactly. Like that's also a win. Yeah.
Yeah. That's also a win, but very difficult.
Yeah. I know moms always say like, it's actually for me, I really like being out of the house for a change when I move my body.
Too. And also I am you already kind of joked that I have ADHD. I don't know if I have that.
Yeah.
I'm a very good chiller in the evenings. Like I love to just watch Netflix and do nothing.
Yeah.
But in the day, there is like not a moment of time that I'm doing nothing.
Yeah.
I'm always doing like 3 things at a time. And even if it's just like, writing that email and then making an appointment for the kids and then also doing laundry and then I have to correct these papers and then, but I'm always like
doing
constantly.
something.
And then I'm cleaning because it's always messy here because, 3 kids. And so in the evenings, like after dinner, I still have that moment with the kids and we put them to bed and then it's like a tune out. Just like
you're like zone out.
It's very difficult to then
work. Can you make that? That's always what I try to. When you're in motion, that's when you have to keep doing it. Yeah. So before you step onto the couch, before you release, that's when you add in that. Maybe it's just a walk around the block then or something, right?
Yeah.
But that is really hard.
Yeah. I mean, I was doing a much better job at it. Physical
exercise or moving
in the summer months. And now with it being gray and cold, it's much more difficult.
Yeah.
But what I usually try to do is on Tuesdays, I have my little dance workout class.
Yeah.
And then one other morning in the week, I run them to school, which is very close by. I'm not a runner, but it does I sweat. It gets my heart rate up. So I figure, and it also mentally it kind of does charge me for the day.
Of course,
it's not far.
Stimulates
it really
endorphins, right? And once in a while, I see you do my workouts online with Amelia.
With the kids.
Isn't that so cute?
They love it. It's so cute. We especially like the dance classes.
Yeah. Even though I'm so bad at that, I keep making them because people ask me to make it. No, I like it, but I just feel like I'm not that good at it. So.
We really like them. But they also like the yoga ones. Yeah. And it's cute. We do them in front of the TV together, but that's more like on a Sunday morning.
Yeah. A special activity. All right, great. So
we have to go have lunch.
We have to go have lunch in 10 minutes.
Okay.
All right. Well, that was so interesting.
Yes.
Where can people find you? Give yourself let people know.
A little shout out.
Yeah.
My Instagram account is called Mommoiselle, @Mommoiselle _com.
2 M's, 2 L's.
Yeah, it's like mom with 2 M's and 2 L's, Mommoiselle.
I'll put it in the show notes.
And I also have a blog. I don't blog as much anymore, but I used to do this in English, so I still have lots of English blogs. Some of them still I read quite a lot, but now I've switched to doing all of this in Dutch.
So all the Dutch listeners.
All the Dutch listeners can come to this account.
Amazing. Thank you so much for chatting with me, my sister.
It was nice meeting you.
It was nice meeting you. You remind me a lot of that girl who hogged the bathroom all those times. No, I was trying to make a joke. Me being that girl that hogged your bathroom.
Yes.
And woke you up singing really loudly at 7 a.m. All right. Anyways, thank you, Laura. Guys, go and follow her. If you have any questions about children, having kids, being a mom, thinking about being a mom, breastfeeding and sleeping, and anything related to that, Laura is your girl.
Yes. And now, because I have ADHD, I'm probably going to rethink this whole conversation and think about all the things that I shouldn't have said or said differently.
And no, as always, I always tell people, take anything I say, anything we say with a grain of salt.
Yes.
We're just doing our best here, right? And besides that, remember, guys, you got this. Have a beautiful rest of your day. And don't forget to follow, rate, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And see you next week.
Bye.